everybody, my name is Aaron George, real estate agent with Coldwell Banker and proudly serving the greater Cincinnati, Ohio area. Today I wanted to talk to you for sale by owners out there. And I probably know what you're thinking, here we go again. Another agent, probably full of BS, probably gonna give us some listing spiel and tell us how great he is. I hear you, I totally do. And really the purpose of today's video is honestly just to give you a couple of simple, yet I feel very essential tips to help you sell on your own. So we've compiled 5 tips. 5 tips that I feel will help you sell not only faster, but help you sell for more money. So before we get started with those tips, I did want to share with you one pretty quick, yet I feel very exciting offer. We put together this really nifty for sale by owner help kit. It's basically everything we could think of to help you sell on your own. So in there we have lists of things you're going to need throughout the process. A ton of how-to guides from throwing your own open house, to staging, to photography, to where and how to advertise. Of course, all the tips we talk about today and many more are in here. And most importantly, we included several pieces of required Ohio paperwork. Documents like disclosures to keep your best interest protected. Even a sample contract. So you can see what, us as professional agents use in our own transactions. You can refer back to that. I know I'm probably a bit biased, but I would really put this in the category as a must-have if you're selling on your own. I really feel that strongly about it. So if you're interested, we'd love to get this into your hands. And of course, it's absolutely free, no strings attached. We don't really want anything from you. It's just really the right thing to do. So we really would love to get this out to you. So again, if you're interested, we got a couple different ways you can reach out. If you're a fan of texting, we have a dedicated number for you. So merely text Help Kit to the number below, 513-488-3372. Or if you're a more fan of email, we also have an email for you. My direct email, aaron.george@cbws.com. So simply reach out and we'll send this right off to you. Alrighty, we promised you 5 tips to help you sell on your own. So let's get back to business, shall we? Tip number 1, invest in good photography. Folks, this is such an important step no matter what market you're in, but it's often a step that's overlooked, even by a lot of professional agents. I see it all the time and it drives me absolutely crazy. Let me share with you one fun fact of the day. 93% of buyers, and that's a huge number, definitely the overwhelming majority, 93% of buyers start the buying process online. So with that much potential exposure, you want to make sure you're making a good first impression with your photos. A wise agent once told me, and this was great advice, that basically your photos are your first showing, so make them good. I would go as far as to recommend hiring a professional real estate photographer. Of course, this is situational, but in often cases, it makes sense. They do a fabulous job. I use professional photographers for my own listings and my own business, and they do an absolutely fabulous job. I wouldn't recommend it if I didn't feel it was worth it. And if you need a few recommendations on some photographers, I'd be happy to share. So if that's the case, feel free to reach out and I'd be happy to share. But anyway, it's an investment that absolutely pays dividends. If you're dead set on doing the photos yourself, just make sure you take your time, do your research, and use the proper equipment. I did include a step-by-step, room-by-room guide in the help kit for you. So it's in there. Just one more plug there for the help kit. But it's a good guide that will help you stage and and look at the room a bit differently, and really gives you some great tips and advice on how to take the photos and how to orchestrate the room to do so. So again, that's in there. But the whole purpose of this rant is just putting a priority on your photos. Alrighty, we are rolling along, cooking with gas now. Tip number 2 is online syndication. Another very important tip, and something that goes right along with tip number 1. Remember we discussed that the majority of buyers are online? Well, it's absolutely true. Over 93%. So you want to get your listing out there and exposed as best you can. There are several sites dedicated to real estate, the biggest being Zillow, Trulia, and Realtor.com. Those are the big boys. The biggest being Zillow, who recently bought Trulia, so you got a good 2-for-1 deal there. And they do cater to for sale by owners. So for a fee, you can advertise on those sites and get yourself a good amount of exposure that way. There are free sites like Craigslist and a couple of others, another great avenue to take. But I would say Craigslist alone probably is not good enough. So you want to get your listing out there as best you can. Another great avenue to take is social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever you prefer. But again, it can be a full-time job doing all this, but I think it's absolutely important to cast as many lines out there as you can. You never know where your buyer is going to come from or see it, so again, just get it out there. Another avenue you could take is something called a limited service listing. It's where you go to an agent or a brokerage and sign a limited agreement. Basically, for an upfront fee, they're going to get you onto the MLS. This fee can be anywhere from $300 to $1,000 or somewhere in between. And they get you onto the MLS and expose it to the agents. So we'll talk about why that's important as well, but certainly another option for you. Again, but at the end of the day, you just want to get as much exposure online as possible. Alrighty, tip number 3 is pre-qualifying your buyers. Another very important step. You want to make sure you know who you're working with and you're not wasting your time. And secondly, and probably even more importantly, you want to know who you're working with isn't up to no good. Let me tell you this, I don't say this to scare you, more to educate you, but there are a lot of scammers out there. They even target us agents, and they definitely target for sale by owners. So definitely be aware that they're out there. Scams I've seen more recently are some scams involving earnest money, where they do a little bait and switch with earnest money. I've also seen a lot of simple scams, even I get these regularly, are scams through email, where they try to get you to click some sort of attachment in an email. So if you do get an email from an unknown source that has an attachment, just be, a little bit more persistent. Do some research. Make sure it's from somebody credible before you go opening up any attachments. A good rule of thumb for scammers is if it sounds too good to be true, it usually is. And something else in my experience that I've noticed is they primarily just like to communicate through email. They do not like to expose themselves. So phone calls, in-person meetings are usually out of the question. So if you have somebody that just wants to communicate by email, that's kind of a red flag in my opinion. But it's really up to you. You can play it by a case-by-case basis. And this brings me to my second point. There are probably 2 groups of people that you should probably just keep an eye out for. The first group are the investors. And I'm not saying don't work with investors. Investors can be great buyers. I work with them all the time. They're quick, they're easy, they usually pay in cash, and they're not too emotionally attached. If the numbers work, the numbers work. But there are some investors out there that specifically target for sale by owners. They may try to take advantage of your lack of market knowledge, maybe your lack of sales experience. Maybe they're just very persistent and may just try to wear you down. So there are those investors out there. Just remember, investors, their main goal is to make money. So you want to ask those types of questions and gain a perspective of how they plan on making money off of you. If it's obvious, if you have a property that's a fixer-upper and it's priced accordingly, that's probably your target buyer. So you can just disregard what I just said. But if it's not, ask those types of questions for sure. The second group to kind of keep an eye out for, and I think you'll definitely get some inquiries from these groups, and this is the unqualified buyers, basically looking for seller financing. These buyers are usually very motivated, yet unfortunately don't quite meet the standards for a traditional mortgage. So they look to homeowners and for sale by owners to basically become their bank or their landlord or some combination of both. You'll definitely get some inquiries about, can I rent it, can I lease it? But you'll also get a lot of inquiries about, can I rent to own or lease to own or whatever it may be. So yeah, again, they're looking to you to become their bank. So if this is not a strategy that you're really into, then just be very persistent and say, no thanks, we're trying to sell it. So again, you'll definitely get some inquiries. And if this is your goal, is to find a renter or find a lease to own candidate, I don't think you'll have a problem. But just want to let you know that you probably will get some inquiries from these folks. For the everyday buyer, it's important to pre-qualify them as well, right? There's a couple different ways to go about this. One way is just requiring a pre-approval letter from a lender before they see the house. I definitely understand why, for sale by owner and homeowners do this. Totally understandable, and it's up to you. I'm more in the camp that says, that may turn off some people, so maybe we'll hold off to the second or third showing before we actually require that. And I think there's really a good way to pre-qualify buyers just, over the phone by asking some probing questions. So, for example, ring, 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 ring. I'll play the homeowner here. Hello? Yes, it's still for sale. It's 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms. We're asking $180,000. Uh-huh. Oh, by the way, how long have you been looking? Uh-huh. Have you been mainly looking in this area? Great, great. So do you have a home to sell before you buy? Great, okay. And what's your time frame? How quickly do you have to be moved in? Perfect. And have you spoken to a lender? All right, great. Well, I look forward to seeing you on Friday. All right, take care. Click. Those are just a few examples of the probing questions you can ask, and definitely you don't have to ask them one after the other after the other. You can, format them more naturally in a conversation, but they gain, they'll give you a great perspective of how serious these people are and how motivated they are. Like, for example, that question about, it seems like, why would you need to know the first question, the question about how long have you been looking? If they say, oh, I've been looking on and off for 3.5 years, well, that's kind of a red flag that maybe they're not that serious about buying. So that's just one of the many questions you can ask to gain this kind of perspective. Alrighty, folks, almost done. Tip number 4, be willing to work with buyer's agents. First and foremost, I want to share with you, I had a bit of an inner struggle whether or not I should keep this on the list. I'm totally aware that it may come off a bit self-serving as an agent, saying you should work with other agents. I get it, but I also feel like it's still an important tactic. So, well, I kept it on there. That is what it is. So, here we go. Let me share with you fun fact of the day number 2. About 80% of the qualified buyers that are out there right now are currently working with a professional agent to help them purchase a home. So that's another huge number. A large majority of buyers are working with agents. So if you alienate buyers that come with agents, you'll be alienating the majority of buyers, and you're definitely not a good business strategy. And I know I work with for sale by owners all the time. I know that's probably not you. The majority that I reach out to are happy to work with agents, but I have been shot down in the past, so I at least wanted to mention this. So as for the benefits, obvious benefits for the buyers, but there are definitely benefits for you, the homeowners, as well. Let me say this real quick. In this market, it's kind of easy getting the offer. That's usually the easy part. Where these deals usually will fall apart is through step by step throughout the process. Getting to the closing table is where these deals can unravel. And that's where agents come along and excel at keeping the deal together and going through step by step throughout the process. They do it all the time. They have the knowledge and expertise of the contracts and the other documents to keep it legitimate. They have all the knowledge of the timing and the contingencies, as well as all the vendors and companies that are involved, the lenders, the title agencies, the appraisers, and so on, and are able to streamline all the communication and keep the deal rolling step by step and getting you to the closing table. So again, benefits on your end as well. As for commission, you're only on the hook for the buyer side, which usually starts at about 3%, but it is negotiable. At the same time, you definitely still want to appeal to agents to show your home, as well as stay competitive with the other listings in the area. So probably don't want to deviate too much from the number, but again, it's negotiable. So just know that. I want to give you a quick disclaimer that there are some agents that do reach out to for sale by owners claiming that they have a buyer, and in turn, they really don't. They're just trying to get in and give you some listing spiel. I always felt like it was kind of a bit dirty and never want to mislead anybody. Especially, if your goal is to eventually list and you want to start out by misleading somebody, that's just totally backwards. I just never got it. So most agents don't do this, but it is a tactic that's still used, so I just wanted to at least mention it. So certainly, if an agent does call, definitely ask those same probing questions. You can even require a pre-approval from that buyer that they claim they have, whatever you feel is necessary. But just wanted to throw it out there that is a tactic that's still used. Alrighty, last but not least, tip number 5. Make sure you have all your paperwork in place. Folks, there is a ton of paperwork involved in a real estate transaction. Trust me, it is to the point it's absolutely ridiculous and overwhelming. But it makes sense and it's doable. So just take it step by step and you'll get through it. A good thing is make sure you start out on the right foot and have things in place before you even start. So as for the contracts, it's probably a good idea to have an attorney, your lawyer, or whoever in place to write up a contract if needed. If you have a buyer that comes with an agent, they can write the contract up for you. Disclosures. There are documents such as the property disclosure, and if your house is built before 1978, there'll be a lead paint disclosure. Make sure you have those. Again, I did include the disclosure as well as the sample contract in the help kit for you. So if you're interested, feel free to reach out once again. So the disclosures are in there and you can just rip them out and start using them right away. Let me tell you this real quick, and I don't say this to scare you, but there's some crazy people out there just waiting to sue at the drop of a hat. So you want to make sure you have these pieces in place. They really will keep you much more protected. Every day in the Hamilton County Courthouse and the Butler County Courthouse, there's one group that walks out a loser and one group that walks out a winner. And in the winner's case, they usually had all their paperwork in place. So you want to make sure that's you. As for non-required paperwork that's always good to have. Recent utility bills, gas, water, electric, sewer, trash, cable, internet, whatever it may be. Buyers almost always ask what the payments are going to be. So to have that on hand, and you don't have to go in the basement or up in the crawl space digging around trying to find something. I know most of those bills are now paperless, so just do whatever you can and compile that. I know it'll make your life a lot easier if you have them on hand. Now, other important documents that aren't required but good to have are, if you did any updates or renovations recently, anything pertaining to that. If anything, I think it's great to at least, write out a list, type it out, make it look nice of any and all the renovations you did recently. You can even, include some prices if you want, but at least a list such as HVAC 2016, countertops 2015, and so on. Whatever renovations you may have done, list them out and put them in a prominent spot for buyers to see. One other piece of paperwork, and this may not be for everybody, but if you live in a community where there's an HOA and there's documents pertaining to that, those are always good to have. Buyers will always ask, especially if there's a lot of rules and regulations. It's important for a new buyer to know those and be comfortable with those. So you want to make sure you have those documents to provide them as well. And that's always usually part of the contracts as well, that they get to view and approve them. So it's always good to have it. It will make your life a lot easier. Well, I guess that's it, folks. I hope you found this list helpful. I enjoyed making it. So again, I really wish you the best of luck in the sale of your home. I really hope it's success. I'm happy. If you need anything, feel free to reach out, whether you need a copy of the help kit or just a quick recommendation or an answer to a question. I'm here if you need me. Again, my name is Aaron George, and have a wonderful rest of your day. Thanks for watching.